Stefano, we've had 6 days of very intensive pre-season testing. Here we are on the eve of the first Formula One race of the season. How does F1 2022 look through your eyes?
Well, Martin, I think that, first of all, it seems yesterday we were in Abu Dhabi, now we are here in Bahrain. What I can see is a very healthy Formula One. In a nutshell, I think that there is a lot of enthusiasm that we all breathe today. There are a lot of interesting stuff that we need to focus on. There is lots going on, regulation, drivers, promoters. Well, I would say there is a lot of interest. That's the most important thing that we can share at the beginning of a season that I believe will give us a lot of points of discussion and interest.
Brand new cars, dramatically different. Do you like the look of them? And are we going to achieve the goal of closer racing, do you feel?
Well, we need to be prudent, of course, but from what we have seen with regard to the main topic, give the chance to the driver to fight much closer. I think that after Barcelona and Bahrain test, it seems that is really something that is very possible. We will see.
For nose-to-tail
For
racing.
nose-to-tail race, action, this is what we need, of course. With regard to the cars, the shape of the cars, if you recall last year, there were so many people that were saying, well, we're going to have cars all identical, all the same, going to be like a sort of F2. Well, actually, I never saw, maybe you have for sure a better experience and memory than me, a season where so many different cars were having so many different shapes. And this is something already very interesting because I believe that this will enable the teams and the cars to be maybe in certain track very competitive, in other less. So it's give us another point of discussion.
It's very F1, isn't it? I love the lateral thinking. You know, you can't put bodywork here, there or there. So their minds, they've twisted the whole car.
Yeah.
But do you think we're going to see controversy over mirrors, for example, that have become quite complex around that area? And of course, something like the Mercedes-Benz side pods.
Well, I think that once again, F1 shows the level of engineering, the level of people that are working in our business, in our world. Because, as I said, at the beginning, everyone thought, well, it would be much easier, very standard shapes and so on. If you've seen the outcome of it, that means that there is a lot of work behind the scene, and that's fantastic. That, as always, it's putting Formula One at the top, and this is what Formula One should be. With regard to the controversy, you know, Formula One has been always the place where it's great to play between the different colors, between the white, the grays, and not to be on the black side, let's say, on the north, all the things that you cannot do. But I think that the controversy could be there in certain area. You touched a very important point. There are discussions around the mirrors, or what do you think should be the effect on the construction around the mirror? As that an aerodynamic effect or not? Points to debate. I'm sure that the technical working group, that this is the first point of discussion. But with regard to the shapes of the car, it's beautiful, it's great. I think that under the light of a night race, is bringing up incredible colors. And well, I'm looking forward to see all together on the grid.
And there's a mechanism now, if somebody finds a very good route, if 8 out of 10 teams and you and the FIA agree, you can change the rules, or you can stop something like mirrors or side pods getting too crazy?
I think that the governance that has been changed in the past was just done just to stop crazy things to move ahead. We don't have to stop the creativity thinking that the teams has to take for the shape of the car or the engineering of the car, because that is part of the intensity of Formula One. But for sure, the governance is in place if we see that certain things are taking the wrong route. But as I said, I see a lot of discussion. But once again, I would like to stress the fact that that shows the level of engineering that Formula One is today.
The cars look quite a bit more difficult to drive. We're going to see more driver errors. That'll frustrate some drivers, but great for the spectacle. The bouncing or porpoising, I'm sure the teams will sort it out, but it's not a great look for Formula One. Cars jumping up and down and scratching along the ground.
Well, with regard to the scratching, will give us a different way of hearing Formula One. I think the purpose will be solved soon. It's a matter of tuning, you know, the flows, tuning the setup of the car. And well, I remember when we had the active suspension in the beginning. You had the cars like unmovable devices all around the track. So I think that is something that it will be solved, sorry, in a couple of races maybe, and that will give another element of potentially of seeing who is the best driver to adapt to this situation. For sure, the characteristic of the car is having a sort of a ground effect in the high-speed corners on the main straight. Will give the fact that in the slow corner you will see cars that seems to be a little bit lazy or more difficult to turn in. Or we see in the testing that the cars or the drivers were trying to find where is the right, limit on which they can really turn in the car. As you said, we're going to have another element of attention where drivers can make mistakes at the beginning, and will create a little bit of action on the track.
What's your inside intel? Who's fastest? Can Ferrari, your old team, get back to the winning ways?
Well, for what we have seen, and as you know, no one knows the fuel level, the engine revs, if everything was in place, it seems that Ferrari is in a good shape this year at the beginning of the season. We all hope, as a Formula One lovers, that they will be there to fight with the other teams. Will give another element of interest to this championship.
As you said, wherever you look, whoever you talk to, the interest in Formula One is at a stratospheric level. How can you live up to that hype now? How can we keep moving forward? And where do you see Formula One, say, 10 years from now?
10 years is a big number.
Let's
If
try 5.
if you do a little bit of reverse engineering, just a couple of years, there were a lot of debate. Well, Formula One, is it still interesting? Will have a future? And now we are on the other way around to say, wow, what Formula One is creating is something spectacular in terms of technological choices, in terms of interest, in terms of capturing not only the avid fan of Formula One, but new fans altogether. So what I can say is that for sure Formula One has a great future. I feel it. I don't want to say because I need to sell it. It's because I see all the stakeholders involved in Formula One. I see all the partners that are coming in Formula One. I see manufacturers interested in Formula One. With regard to the choice of the future, we have taken a very clear indication on that. It's a hybrid engine, sustainable fuel. And I think that from the engineering point of view, the biggest challenge that we need to focus on together, all together, is how we can try to have a lighter cars. Because if you think, Formula One has been always the place where you as a driver wanted to maximize your performance with a car at the maximum level of technology, but I would say that is the focus. Bearing in mind that the hybridization, safety, will have new tires, as we have seen this year, we'll have that weight that we need to consider. But the challenge will be to take everything on board, try to minimize that effect.
Talking of manufacturers, we hear Porsche and Audi might come to Formula One. When might we hear some news on that?
Well, not only them, if I may say. There are discussions, as you know, and I'm pretty convinced that very soon who has to talk will speak. But I would say stay tuned and we will see.
So more than one manufacturing group interested in F1 and coming to F1?
I think that the interest is there. For sure, what is the situation today of the choice that we have taken is has, let's say, waken up a lot of people or a lot of constructors to see if through F1 as a motorsport could be a good platform to be a technological bench on which they can develop something that will be important also from the mobility point of view.
We must talk about the end of last year. A lot of controversy. We upset a lot of fans and they are still upset about it. They feel that maybe there was some kind of fix or some kind of show business going on. How can we rebuild the trust now for the fans after that last lap in Abu Dhabi and the championship deciding lap?
I think that, to be honest, the trust is already there. We had last week a meeting with all the promoters and all the broadcasters and all the partners. Almost all the places we are going are sold out. That means that the Formula One has not that problem. It means the trust is there. Sport is a part of the challenge, and you may have situations that are positive or negative or create controversy. I have not for a single second in my mind to think that something has built on purpose. As a sportsman, if I thought that was the case, I would not be there. And I can guarantee that from Formula One perspective, this is not the case. And what we can say, and as you know, in the next days, FIA will formally discuss that in the World Motorsport Council, because I think that what we need to avoid is a personal discussion. You know, we are all human beings. You may say that you are performing well as a driver, as a team, as a referee, but this is not relevant to the credibility of the sport if the sport will take all the lessons in order to improve that. The credibility is passing through this kind of action, and this is what we are expecting from the FIA to take on board in the preparation of the next year.
Did the FIA make the right decision to replace Michael Masi?
I think that, as you know, I have to respect the fact that we are not the FIA, we are not the regulator. I think that from the perspective of protecting the people, for sure discussion between themselves has been taken care. And I believe that the way to protect someone that was under a lot of pressure for what has happened maybe took the outcome of what has been taken. So as I said, I want to see the facts on making sure that the FIA, as a regulator of the sport, will be able to start this weekend in the best way that they can, in terms of giving to the race director and all the people involved in the decision-making process, stewards and so on, the right tools to do the best job that they can.
So we have this new system with alternating race directors, maybe some kind of remote mission control. Is that the right solution? Feels a bit like a committee to me, because you've got the race stewards as well. For me, it feels like it needs to be one person, a lightning conductor, taking the big decisions like we used to have with Charlie Whiting.
You know, we don't have to forget that the steward is the ultimate judging committee that will formalize all the results in the race. Race direction has to be an entity organized in a proper way, but the race director is a man or a woman, or is a person who has to take the right decision. And he can take the right decision if he's well supported, if he has all the tools that are available for him to make this judgment. I do believe that what you're saying is totally aligned with my thought. You don't have the time to make a committee. You need to make sure that all what you have around you is enabling you to take the right decision.
The FIA report on Abu Dhabi, will that be publicly available in full?
I would say this is part of the FIA. I will attend the World Council next Saturday, and we will see. That is the aim, to have let's say a step forward to move forward from Abu Dhabi. As I said, we are already in Bahrain, so there's no need to talk with a different approach, rather than to say what we learn as regulator from that last race.
23 races ahead of us this season, quite a challenge. In the 4 decades I've been in Formula One, I've never experienced so much hype around an event as we have for the Miami Grand Prix.
Well, it's true. I mean, we've taken the decision with the promoter not to be too big in terms of numbers, because we wanted to make sure that the first experience in Miami will be the best for all that are coming. As you know, the tickets were sold out after 2-3 weeks. There is a lot of vibes, as you said, and I do believe that is stating once again the level of positivity that is around our sport. And if you think about that in the American market, in US, a couple of years ago, well, actually we were thinking, do we have to stay there? Can we see where we should be as a new strategic market to push Formula One? Actually, today there is such incredible vibes in US that is, that is a big reward and a big thinking, considering what that market to bring to Formula One.
A lot of talk we may get an extra race next year in 2023 in Las Vegas.
Well, there is not only Las Vegas, there are other cities that are interested in Formula One. We need to be balanced, we need to see what are the opportunities, and for sure, very soon we're gonna tell to everyone what is our strategy to develop the market.
Every week we're seeing an announcement, a new long-term deal in Bahrain, Singapore, everywhere. Is there a chance we could go to 24 or 25 races in a season?
Well, actually, as you know, the actual Concord Agreement allows us to go to 24. I think there is potential to go to 24. I would say there is potential to go to 30 in terms of the interest that we see all around the world. But it's up to us to try to find the right balance, considering, you know, what are the new venues that would like to be in Formula One, what are the venues, historical venues that needs to stay in the calendar. But once again, we go back to the first point. F1 never been so healthy, and that's a real sign of this situation of today.
How about the well-being of F1 personnel with such a long and arduous season, and even the stamina of the fans to put aside 23, 24 weekends per year?
Well, I think that all depends from the nature of the sport itself in terms of intensity on the track. I mean, American sport of football, I mean, they're having 70 games, 60 games, 50 games every 2 days. Maybe it's too much, maybe not too much, depending really on the intensity. I think that, if I may say, if the action on the track is interesting, you know, all the avid fans would like to say, come on, where's the next race? With regard to the people, you know, if you remember, I don't want to say at our old time because it seems that we are very old, it's not. But, you know, we were working day and night. There is, Formula One has done a lot to protect the mental health and to protect the way that the people working for One has to be protected. And I think that we have found a good balance. I think that if we move forward, it's a matter of a team to organize themselves, to have the rotation maybe, to keep the level of the people at the right skill in a team. I don't think that that will be a limiting factor, to be honest. I think that the protection in place, done thanks to the team attention, and to the Formula One world, to the people who are working today, is very, very high.
Of course, we were deeply saddened and totally shocked at the events unfolding in Ukraine. It's too awful to contemplate. You moved very quickly to cancel the entirety of the Russian Grand Prix.
Yeah, I think that was our duty to give a sign, you know, as I said, with facts. And when we had a call together with the teams at the FIA, it was clear that was the right thing to do. As you said, very sad, speechless. The hope is that this situation will evolve soon in order to talk about sport once again in that country.
Will we ever race in Russia again as Formula One?
Difficult to predict, difficult to say, for sure not in these conditions.
Will you replace the Russian Grand Prix with another venue to keep 23 races on the calendar?
That's the target. We are looking for a different site. Hopefully we're going to announce that in the next months. One thing that we need to consider is that the prudency related to the COVID situation is not a game over yet. Mm-hmm. That's why we need to be, as I said, prudent and check how the situation is evolving country by country. F1 showed 2020, 2021, we were able to adjust, to be very flexible and to make sure that the calendar was in place. It's not over. And that's why we, not only in terms of finding another venue to be and to keep the 23 races, but we need to see how the situation will evolve. Of course, our approach will be always the same. Try to keep the calendar. If we are able to do it, 23 races will be 2022, the maximum number of races that Formula One has ever in the history.
The Russian situation, could there be ramifications for other Grand Prix, for example, Azerbaijan?
We had discussion with them and in this last week here, we don't think so. And therefore the organizer is moving forward to set up the site already next week. So we don't see that sign, to be honest, today.
We're shortly racing in Saudi Arabia, where they've just announced a mass execution of 81 people. This must be a grave concern to Formula One, and could it affect the race in Saudi Arabia?
Well, for sure, when we hear this kind of news, it's quite alarming. But I'm a true believer on the fact that sport has to make sure that you know, human rights is at the center of our agenda, together with the country where we're going in. And I think that if I do a step back, what we have seen last year, seen a lot of women, a lot of young people attending to the race and enjoying for the first time an event that they never had the chance to live live, it's the right direction to take. The fact that we're going to be there, you know, give the intensity and the spotlight around the subject that maybe without us would have a different place in the news.
Moving on, Michael Andretti wants an American team in Formula One. Would you welcome that and a 22 car or even a 24 car grid?
There's not only Michael Andretti. Michael Andretti maybe is the most vocal one, but we have more than 4 or 5 requests to consider an extra team to be part of Formula One. Once again, I don't want to add for the third time, shows how today Formula One is very applicable for everyone that wants to invest in the sport. I think there is a process in place that will consider if this will give, or what will be the positive asset of value that these kind of things will give to the Formula One world. There are a lot of things to be considered, and as I said, in the next couple of weeks we will take the right decision together with the FIA, because that's something that is a part of the possibility that we need to discuss with the FIA first and with the teams to make sure that we define the right strategy for the future.
A new team has to jump through quite a lot of hoops and some financial barriers. Should the other teams be more accommodating to this, or is the filter about right?
I think that if I have to be very, very honest on that respect, today F1 with 10 teams, with the competition on the track, is very, very solid. So there are complexity that will need to be considered to add if some other team will be added, sorry. Therefore, I don't think that is really the most important element on which we should focus to grow Formula One, to be honest.
So you're happy, you're content with 20 cars, but 22 or 24 you would accept if it's really adding a lot of value.
Correct.
To the business.
That would be my point, because at the end of the day, you know, we've seen already last year with 2 drivers, with 2 teams fighting, the interest was already at the top. If we have, as we hope this year, more teams, more drivers to fight, that's more than enough.
Some top teams are coming to me and saying we have to increase the cost cap because of inflation and other costs going up. Is that going to happen?
Well, there are a lot of discussion within the teams. We don't have to forget one of the reasons why there is such a positivity around the structural cost of Formula One today is because we were able to fix that. It's difficult, we know. And above all, when you are in a healthy situation where you don't have problem to spend money, that was not the case maybe a couple of years ago for a lot of teams. That shows, as I said, the level we are fighting, they are fighting the sporting level. There are certain teams that are making some pressure. There are certain points that are valid. To be honest, the inflation is very high today. The cost of freight after what is happening is getting enormously high. Therefore, it's a point of discussion on the financial regulation group that will take place, I think, already next week.
We have a Chinese driver on the grid this year for the first time, Guan Yu Zhou. How important is that to Formula One?
Well, for sure, he's opening up a new big market on which, as we know, the face of a driver can make the difference. We know how important it is to have an athlete that will represent the country to develop the sport in the country itself. So, I mean, there is a lot of expectation. We already saw a sign of attention, big attention from the Chinese market. Therefore, we'll be very focused on following what's going on with the races going into the season. And he's very motivated. I met him last week. He's focused on what he has to deliver. He knows that he has a bigger responsibility because, you know, try to imagine, you know, if he's able to capture the attention in that market, it will be significant. By the way, just a little sign, you know, we are receiving requests not only from Shanghai, as you know, we have the Grand Prix. We are not going this year because of COVID, but other cities are showing, you know, the marks to be interested in hosting Formula One.
But it's essential that any such driver is true Formula One level, isn't it?
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, that's very relevant. The super license structure is in place to make sure that the drivers that are coming in Formula One have the skill to be competitive. That's fundamental for that.
Where are the other potential growth markets you see for Formula One?
Well, on top of America, on top of China, I think there is a potential also to be in Africa soon. There is a lot of interest there, and for sure that's another area that so far is missing in the geography of our calendar.
As the Formula One circus master, do you work and encourage teams to take certain drivers for the good of Formula One?
No, I don't think that would be it is my role. I think my role is to encourage the team to be you know, to have the right competitive approach when they are on the track, and to be out of the scrum with a sporting vision, commercial vision, business vision when they are not at the site.
Some people might say we cancelled Russia, but it's hypocritical. We go to other countries with human rights issues. What would you say to that?
I say that human rights, you know, is part of the meeting, a discussion we are having together with the FIA. So the human right is always at the center of our discussion. There's a lot of debate. We don't have to create polemics on that. We know that every country has a step to be done to improve that situation, because the level of that is different from country to country. For us, it's clear that we want to use the sport to, you know, to highlight the need of transparency, the need of making sure that the human rights are the center of the political journey of a country.
Let's talk about you, Stefano Domenicali. You took this job just at the beginning of a global pandemic. Now we have the war in Ukraine. A lot of challenges. You somehow managed to get 39 races done in the pandemic. Are you enjoying it?
Well, absolutely yes. Above all in this moment, I feel the privilege of being in this position. If I have the chance to look what is happening around the world, I'm blessed. Therefore, I cannot say more than say that I'm very, very happy, proud of what we are doing, and I wake up every morning with the same intensity that I had the first time that I started my career in Ferrari. And therefore, it's something that I want to transmit to my people, give this sort of enthusiasm, this motivation, this energy that is part of Formula One, and this is also part of me.
Any regrets so far?
Regret is a big word, but I would say, as always, when you go home in the night, there has been always a moment where you look in your mirror and you try to make your debriefing. But so far, big ones, not yet.
I love stories like yours. When you were at uni, you were helping people park in the car park in Imola and running around doing things, and now you're the boss. It's a great story. You must look back and think, wow.
Absolutely, it's a double wow, because I couldn't believe that could have happened to me. And as I said, could be seen as a sign that everyone really, in the right condition, with the right motivation, can achieve something that is not thinkable when you start, thinking about your future.